What up? What up? What up? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and this is another episode of Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had an amazing week. I definitely did. I woke up. I went to sleep on Monday, man. I woke up. It was Friday, man. It was just a blur. But enough of that. Tonight, man. Just like we have every other time we on here, we have the most official, the most interesting and thought provoking, the most hustling, the most business minded, the most successful entrepreneurs and small business owners and business folks that we could probably get on for you. And tonight is kind of special because this is my brother. Um, we from the same place, from the same area, and so it's always a treat to sit down with somebody who sees what I see and knows what I know and frequented some of the same places that I did. This is Mr. Tracy Williams. He's an author, he's an entrepreneur. He is an economic development strategist. I cannot wait to hear what all goes into that. What does that actually mean? Um, Not to mention, he's a man of the people, community guy, a pillar, if you will. Some might call him a pillar of the community, but I'm not going to steal his thunder. For those of you who may not be familiar with Mr. Williams and his movement, I'm going to give him a moment to kind of reintroduce himself and just give a little background of who he is and some of the things that he has going on. So with that being said, Mr. Williams, it's on you.
Mike, man, so glad to be back on your show. So much has happened since the last time I was on here. Last time we kicked it a little bit, kept it real casual.
Yes, sir.
I felt like we were just catching up from back in high school. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
But so what I do is, as an economic development specialist, my focus is on businesses that are in neighborhoods just like the ones that we grew up in. How can we begin to get them to scale up? How can we begin to get them to attract more clients? How do we get the owners of those businesses to be the leaders of the communities that they're working in? How can they influence the politics? How can they influence the outcomes? As business owners, they have so much more power than they think that they do have. Over the years, I've learned through working in economic development that business owners oftentimes use that position to advance not only themselves, their families, and the communities that they're in. Um, Politicians, they're usually in office anywhere 4, 8, if they're lucky, 12 years as a mayor. The Senate, some of them have longer terms. However, business owners, if they do what they're supposed to do, they're around for decades. So they should be the ones that are usually influencing what's happening. They are the ones that have the pulse of the community. They are the ones that have their customers and their families in mind. So to put too much on politicians, I think is, are we allowed to cuss on your podcast? I don't know the rules. I'm not sure if it's a family show, but I'm just gonna say
we tried not to, sir.
I'm gonna say act bass backwards. Then that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So that's what I do as an economic strategist, just try and improve the urban living condition, right? Specifically safety, business ownerships, beautification projects. Where can they go to get money for like curb appeal and things outside of their business? Just tying them into the right network, right? So that's what I do as an economic development strategist. That's just a broad level of it all. I do work with some businesses one-on-one, but for me to work with a business, they have to be what I call a social entrepreneur or have a social enterprise, right? I don't work with businesses who just get into business for money, right? I work with businesses that want to make a difference. So that's my thing as far as working with businesses. You have to be a social entrepreneur. You have to have a social enterprise or something that's going to uplift the community, whether it's through using your resources and your networks or just having a company that helps out, right? So many different ways that you can get to that point of being impactful. I'm also an author, so I try and influence. I try and change the narrative of how the world looks at people and where we come from. You're gonna hear me say that a lot. Like the neighborhoods where we come from, because that's where my heart is. So I write children's books. We'll probably get into some of those. I have a Marvin series. With me being in economic development, I work with a lot of businesses, and there's so much that the owners don't know. There was so much I didn't know before I went back to school to try and figure it out. You know what I mean? And so I'm
Right.
like, it would have been really helpful to have known this a lot earlier. And so I saw that my kids have the benefit of having me as a parent, as a business owner. When I'm talking at home, just like other demographics, they get this information just by being alive,
Right.
right?
Right.
Some people don't get that information. Some parents aren't having these conversations. So while I'm talking about businesses and strategies, my kids are like, here we go with this again. But you'll see that they automatically just start doing that as they've gotten older. You know what I
Right.
mean? And no one had to tell them. It was just their lived experience. So I write children's books and try and get the business in their mind early, the terminology, get them used to the words that they need to hear. I also wrote a book, my first book, Become Up. If I'm going, I'm rambling right now. I've done so
Man,
much,
do
man.
your thing. Do your thing. Do your
So
thing.
my first book was for young men like me, the young man that you met, a little wild and crazy. So they always say, if you could write a letter to yourself, what would that letter look like, right?
Yeah.
I wrote a letter to myself, and I'm sharing it with all the young men. You
Okay.
know what I mean? And then I
Okay.
wrote a letter to my homeboys that, didn't evolve. I call that to come up for men. And so that is, okay, what did the things that I shouldn't have done, the things that I should have done between being a young man and an adult, here's how I close that gap. And so I put that in the come up for men. And then the last book that I just released, Pedal, um, was about my bike ride across the country. It took me 6 years to finish it. There was so much that went into it. I was in all of the different cities that look just like ours. I'm interviewing business owners and interviewing um, men, because I stopped in 13 of the Grand Lodges. I'm a Prince Hall Mason.
Mhm.
So planning that trip, I said I'm going to stop in the 13 Grand Lodges of each state, each 13 states. Then I'm going
Mhm.
to talk to people. But I'm going to make sure that I go into every hood that I can riding my bike through, just to see if it's like Rochester. They say Rochester is not a real place.
Right.
But across the country and in all of these different communities, we do have some of the um, same things that we can build on to make stronger, right? I believe in approaching problems from a asset based approach as far as a deficit base. So that's the long winded of it. I've been doing a lot, man. I've been busy. So
So I mean, I'm gonna ask you a silly question. Why do you feel like it's important for us, people of color, and more particularly people that are, um, from some of the areas that we're from, some that might call disadvantaged areas. Why is it important for them to have this type of knowledge? I mean, you're out, you got out, so why bother?
I'm gonna tell you, part of it is selfish, right? And I'm gonna go with that selfish part first. I grew up in, gang life. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
grew up hanging out with my homeboys and all of that other stuff. And um, what I noticed is that loyalty and those bonds and those friendships, um, I never really wanted to let them go, right? So I'm like, how can I maintain that without having to give up the people that were with me when I didn't have a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who loved me unconditionally. We spent so much time together. We did so many things together. Nas did an interview recently, right? And I thought I thought he hit home. He's like, man, listen, I got here, right? I'm not comfortable in the rooms that I am in. And then when I go back home, right, I'm not as comfortable as I used to be, but I'm more comfortable there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I just kind of wanted to give everyone um, the cheat code so I could bring all my homies with me. You know how they say when you go in, leave the door open.
Yeah, yeah.
It gets lonely. I don't like some of the new people I met. You know, along the way, it, it's just lonely, right? And so part of the reason why I do the work I do is so I can go back and say, hey, listen, everything that I got, you got because we did the same things. We were landing in the same places, right? So we can do this. I much more, Mike. I want to come to your house in the French Riviera, right? Now, let me go to your house over there, right? Oh,
Right.
you want to jump on my yacht because you don't got a yacht. Somebody else got a plane.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? So we can start doing some of the funner things. So that was part of the reason. The other part of the reason is, you always hear the same old things over the years that, we have to close the wealth gap. We have
yeah.
to close the education gap. And when people tend to leave or when they get in some of the spaces that I'm in, it's like they help so long as you stay over there, right? I want to help you, but from afar, right?
Right,
I want to,
right.
on my resume, I want to say that I work with young men and I foster them and I help them and I was good at it.
Yeah,
But when that young man come into your restaurant and want to sit with you, you're like, no, 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 no. You go back over there. I'll
yeah.
meet you there tomorrow and help you over there. I like you over there. And I
You're
like telling people that I helped you, but
right,
stay there.
right.
So my goal is to help those, not even help, just make them more aware. You know what I mean? We can do this. We don't need that validation. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
have all the skills we need to have. We have the ingenuity is just crazy, right? The way that we survive, the way we go see a mechanic the neighborhood mechanic that know how to fix everything, right? That same person can open up a business if he needs to, right? The
Right.
way we, go to juke joints, right? They have the same skill sets to
Yeah,
run a bar. I was running juke joints before I opened up my first nightclub, right? That's what kind of prepared me to be able to do that.
right.
The same way you plan family reunions, you can plan stuff for other people too. We are so skillful and so knowledgeable, but society has said that the skills and the way that we use them aren't the same. They're exactly the same. By the time
Mm.
I went to school and by the time I started working and by the time I'm in these meetings, I'm like, that's the same thing, just worded different. But when I do it, you know what I mean? So that's part of the reason that I want to do it is we just dope people, right? And I think that we've been given some really bad information, right? Making it seem like the skill sets that we use that they have to try and go learn, being agile, having to
Yeah,
adjust,
right.
right? When we haven't just, they call it survival. When they have to adjust, they call it skill. Get
Yeah.
out of here with that, man. You know what I mean? So I've been in some really great rooms, man.
I was watching I, I was watching an interview with Cam, and he was
I love
talking.
King.
Well, it wasn't necessarily an interview. He was just talking. He was saying
Mm.
how one of his friends had just come home, and he asked him. He's like, "Look, man," he said, I'm not on what I used to be on. Trying to turn over a new leaf, man. I'm trying to start this mobile car wash business." And Cam said he'd been knowing this cat since he was like 6.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So he's like, all right, because he already owned 2 or 3 mobile car wash vans already. So the guy was in Atlanta, so he sent one of the vans down to Atlanta, and
Ah.
he said it was good for about 3 months. He said the dude was
Mm.
doing good, and then he stopped answering his calls. Cam said he called him, couldn't get in touch with him, till finally the police called him and told him that the van was they found the van in the bushes, abandoned.
Mm.
Right.
Right.
So he said something that was so profound. He was like, man, I did this because I've known him since he was 6. But I should have known because I've known him since he was 6.
That's deep. That's deep.
So, yeah. So like, are you? And so I say all that to ask you, like, in the midst of all the help and the serving that you're doing, are you prepared? Have you mentally prepared yourself, or are you prepared for the ones that you can't help?
Absolutely. It comes with the territory, right? But my thing is I just don't give up. Like, by the time we share this, the majority of the people that I work with, they'll see it. And I'm always like, you know what? As long as I can help you without hurting me, I'm going to keep helping you. Because the only reason I was able to make the change is I had people that didn't give up on me. Right? No matter how much I tried to force them to give up on me, because I like hanging out with my friends, right? I like drinking the 40s. I like going to the clubs. I really enjoyed all of that, right? Even at a young age. And so I'm like, I just messed up a few times. They're going to stop messing with me. You know what I mean? But I was fortunate enough to have some people to be like, man, we ain't going nowhere. Knock it off, right?
Right.
And so 1, 2, 3, 4 times forgiving me. Finally, I'm like, man, they see something in me that I don't see in myself, right? And so it just clicked. So it comes with the territory. You ain't gonna be able to win them all. But what I make sure that I do is make sure that I don't help you to the point where it's hurting me. You know what I mean? I still want to make sure I'm advancing, making sure I'm doing what I'm doing, and making sure you're close enough where you might just be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, the answer, absolutely. Sometimes, you want to help somebody and it kind of hurts, especially if it's your man. You know what I mean? Like, we used to have so much fun together. Now, what you doing? I can't do that. And I can't do that.
Right.
You go do that. I'll be here when you get done doing that. Right. And we'll link up. So yeah, that's the answer to the question. It's not fun. You have to be psychologically strong. You got to be committed to this work.
Right. So knowing you as a young person, being a young person myself, you know what I mean? We're kind of, at that point, we're kind of sponges. We see a lot of stuff and we take a lot of stuff in, and we, kind of eat the meat and spit out the bones, and become who or whatever we're going to become. And I've always known you to be kind of a introverted extrovert, if that makes sense. So like, you seem quiet, but when the lights come on, you perform like
it's go time.
Yeah, like, but you're so you was like kind of unassuming, but at the same time, nobody was gonna play in your face. Put it that way.
Can't let nobody do that. You can't let nobody do that, even as ever.
Right.
So you nailed it though. My wife used those words at one point. She's like, you turn it on and off. Right? I'm like, I don't particularly enjoy some of the stuff I do, and you got to get your mind right before you go out there and, like you said, perform. Right. So you're right. You nailed it. You definitely nailed it.
And knowing and observing that about you, how has that helped you at this point? Like, is this something, has that been like an asset for you in this I don't want to say industry, in this pursuit, in this movement, that you started? How has your upbringing and the things that you've allowed to shape you helped you going forward?
There's a phrase that we use in masonry. It says, wisdom dwells in contemplation. And so way back in high school, I think we covered this on the last time I was on your show, when I used to have to lie and say I was going home to get with a girl, right? I went home and did my homework.
Yeah.
I graduated on time, you know what I mean? So when I did walk the stage, my friends was like, how you I went home and did my homework. I said I was getting up with old girl. I went home and got in those books. I did my homework, right?
Right.
So even when I finally, graduated MCC and got into RIT, which is, from where I come from, and it's a big deal from where we come from. You know what I
Right.
mean? Especially
Right.
the trouble and stuff we used to get. It's like, RIT, how you did that? I did my homework. I was out doing the same things you were doing, but I kept my eye on the prize. You know what I mean? Especially with economics and a marketing degree, right? So I love economics, especially behavioral economics. So yes, it's definitely helped me because I know how to turn it on and turn it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know when to go home and be quiet and zone out. I also know how to do what I need to do to get you up off me,
Right.
or
Right.
make sure I get the job done that needs to get done. So it's been a true blessing, and it's helped me with my mindset to not give up. It's so easy to give up when you're working over here. But there's a flip side to that, right? We live in two different worlds. And I think sometimes we don't accept that there are two Rochesters. There's a book that I love to promote by Michael Colston, I think his name is. It's on my nightstand somewhere, but it's called The Harlem Shuffle. Right. And in that book, the main character owns a furniture store, and he's owned it for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Prevalent in the community, active in politics, has the wife, has that, but then he finds himself in a little bit of trouble. But he has a cousin that is from the streets. So all of a sudden, his cousin starts taking him places on his same block that he didn't even know existed. He's like, wait, what? This is a gambling spot? Wait, so when the sun go down, this happened? Like, it's a whole new world to him. But he grew up in that same community his whole life, but didn't know there was a whole different world out there in the same city. And so I say that because being able to navigate those worlds allows me to understand and be more forgiving, because now I know why that person is moving the way that they move.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I know why the skill sets that they have to have, and the skill sets that they use are that because they have to have them. Right?
Right.
And so I also understand why they don't commit to anything long term, because tomorrow's never promised, right?
Right.
In that world, you never know what's going to happen, right? You live for the day and hope that you're here for tomorrow. So the
Right.
story with the van, he's like, man, listen, I can't really commit to this. I didn't listen to the interview, but as you were telling me that, I'm like, I get it, right? He's like, man, if I commit to this, that means I'm committing to everything that comes. I have to commit to everything that comes with commitment.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Remember the movie Heat when Al Pacino said, "I will drop everything in 30 seconds."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know what I mean? He never had roots. So when I see that, I see us. He wasn't committing to nothing. He was like out there making it happen.
Yeah.
So that mindset, you have to understand that mindset in order to work with that mindset. And most people, they just don't get it. Like, I got to eat today. I might get knocked tomorrow, and all this going to be gone. I'll be going to December. So this 100,000 that I got, I'm about to enjoy this 100,000 because I might be going tomorrow.
Right.
So I understand the mindset and the psychology behind it. So I just be trying to start off real slow, like live for today, but plan for tomorrow.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? And then slowly you'll start to be able to plan further in the future. You know what I mean? Let me plan for tomorrow first, and then like, so you better be glad you put that money away for tomorrow. Now plan for next week, right? What
Right.
next week look like, right? Now
Right.
what next month live at? You don't did this. Now let's start chaining it together, and pretty soon they start having vision. You know what I mean? Long term vision. But you just can't expect someone that has been in that atmosphere their entire life to just all of a sudden start performing as someone that's been on this side of the fence their entire. It's unrealistic.
Right. Right. So, with that being said, do you think that it's possible if you don't already have that swirling around in your mind, can you can you really be conditioned to turn into this conscientious type of individual that, as you said, lives for the day but prepares for tomorrow, and all that. If this is not already pre pre-planted within your and within the person, can they actually be conditioned or taught a different way?
Yeah, it's gonna take someone that came from that environment to say, hey, listen, we was doing a couple years ago, right? What if we would have did this? And you just kind of get their wheels to spinning, right? And once you get their wheels to spinning, they'll start putting the pieces of the puzzle together themselves, right? I've seen it happen time and time again where I'm like, man, remember we had that little corner store that we was hustling out of? What if we would put a couple more shirts in there or something? You know what I mean? What if we would have did this? Man, you super popular, right? What if you would have just, kept that store doing what it was doing, but then had another one that was the right way? You know what I mean? What if you would have did this way? Think about it. And then you start asking the questions. Now you start asking them questions.
Right.
Tell me what you think would have happened. What do you think you should have done different from, last year to this year with all that bread, man? We done gave Kathy Pagoda. I'm got to bring up Kathy's, right? We don't gave Kathy Pagoda's $1,000 a night. What if we only gave her 500? Tell me what you think that would have looked like. And they start to tell you the answers, man. We are very intelligent people. And so I just got to the point where I don't preach, I ask questions. Well, what would have happened if this happened? What about this? Remember you had this? What about, tell me what you thought. Man, that's crazy. Remember this? Man, you don't turn that into this. And the conversations, they answer the questions themselves. And then most of the times they're amazed that they know the answer. Honestly, bro. They're amazed that they know the answer.
Yeah. Because I feel like, in the realm that you're talking about, a lot of times it's not necessarily, you're not necessarily, giving them the answer. You're trying to help them discover the answer within themselves. They already, like you said, it's already in there. It's just that I'm just helping you look for it. You know what I'm saying? It's in there, but it got a whole bunch of clothes on top of it, or it got some toys on top of it. So I'm trying to help you clear away the debris to find that actual, thing that the key to whatever your destiny is or whatever you're trying to do. So let's talk about your, you broached on a little bit. I can't even talk. You broached on it a little bit earlier in the interview, and you some of the literary things that you've been doing as far as with the children's books and with Pedal and some of the self-help books that that you touched on. What is that process like creatively? How do you I've always admired people who were able to organize their thoughts in a way that would allow them to do things like that. So like, what is the process like? What is the process for you to create these projects that you're creating?
For me, I take the approach of what is it that I would have wanted to know at that age. And so I start my research on, okay, what's the age appropriate writing level for that? And I'm like, man, when I was 12, I wish I would have knew that. So I write what I wish I would have knew, right? So that's what like I said, that's what the come up was. What should I have known at interim before I got to Wilson? What are some things I wish someone would have told me? Right? I think we all owe a book to society. We all have something that we could teach. And as a people, that's how we pass down our history. That's how we pass down family legacy and other things. We tell stories. So I think that you should document those. So the process for me writing is to first, what do I think I should have known? 2, how can I keep it genuine, right? A lot of times, if I have an academic peer, I'll give them my book. My first book, a little bit of a tangent. My first novel, right? Because I knew that my friends wouldn't read the come up, right? It's too preachy. It's too in your
Yeah.
face. Like, don't tell me what to do, right? So then I created a character
Right.
in my books, Urban Development. That was my first novel, right? 200 and something pages. Worst writing ever, right? If I
Really?
didn't have thick skin, I probably would have never wrote another book in my life. But I'm giving it to people. They like, read this. They're like, what grade you graduated from? Two, right? So I'm like, man, I don't work my butt off to write this whole
Right.
novel. I mean, the grammar wasn't right, the storyline didn't flow, all kind of different stuff, right? To the point where parts of it was so bad that they didn't even want to give me their responses. But I didn't give up, right? I gave it to somebody else, and they was like, okay. Shout out to Maurice. Maurice was like, hey, listen, man, this book is all over the place. If you introduce in chapter one, that gun should shoot in chapter 4 or 5 or 6. You know what I mean? So the idea of writing urban development was to create a character that did what we did, but also made it out.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So all of my writing is related to our lived experiences and the information that we need to activate the skills that we have on this side of the fence. So it's always from an asset based. How can I make it positive? How can I bring about the stuff that you already know? How can I bring about the stuff that you're doing in your communities already and show you how to do it? Like, for example, I'm a gardener, and in my children's book, Marvin's Garden,
Okay.
I talk about, you know what I mean? The young man has a grandfather, and he teaches him, okay, you're gonna plant your garden like we was talking about earlier, but make sure that you harvest some of those seeds so you have some seeds for next year, right? Make
Mm.
sure you don't eat up everything right away. Can it, do what you ever need to do. But he goes to school and gives all of these, like, hey, I got all this stuff. Look at me balling, right? He's giving his friends, all his fresh fruits and vegetables, and he forgot to save the seeds. He goes back to his grandfather later, like, hey, granddad, can I get some seeds? So he's like, I told you to save your seeds. You didn't. So there's the lesson there, right?
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
frugal. Then there's a family thing there. So I think I answered your question. I just go from an asset base.
I and I kind of want to expound on that. Okay, so going back to your reputation growing up. Like I said, I from seeing you, because we didn't necessarily run in the same circles, but
Right.
we knew who each other were.
Yeah.
So you were a popular person,
Mm.
and I perceived that um you were respected from a street perspective too.
Mm.
So, and this may sound like an unusual question, but the fact that you were so certified in those areas, it was that when it came time for you to share these creations, these projects, do you feel like it was an asset for you or a liability? And let me ask, and let me expound on that question,
Mm.
because in the Bible it talks about how Jesus went to his hometown, right? And the people were like, "That's the carpenter's son.
Yeah.
He ain't." So the Bible says that he was only able to do a few miracles before he actually left, but he
Mm.
could have done more. But the people were so familiar with him, and they saw him from a child to this point. They were so comfortable with him that they didn't take him as seriously as they should. And so I juxtapose that with when I come to you and I say, because of your notoriety, your local notoriety,
Right.
um, did that cause people not to take you seriously?
Hell yeah. They don't take me serious today. Right. I go in some rooms, man. The first, it gets so aggravating. Right. The
Yeah.
first thing they want to talk about is something I did 20 years ago.
Right.
As soon as
Right.
I walked, oh, you was bad. I'm like, come on, man. What about all that good stuff I've been doing for the last 20
Right.
years, right?
Right.
Um, and Rochester is small, so someone knows somebody or knows
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it don't happen now, it's gonna happen later. I might be going someplace with a coworker, and they're like, "Oh, Tracy, oh, this dude that you with, yada 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 yada," right? And so once
Yeah.
even my coworker hears about my bad part, it opens up the door for them to talk about their bad parts, right? And now we
Mhm.
start moving away from the goal and the mission.
You're right. Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Now you want to tell me about your side husband or
Yeah.
your side wife, side girl. You want to start talking about, yo, we gonna go to the bar. I'm like, I'm not going to the bar with you. I don't cheat. You know what I mean?
Right.
You
Right.
hearing the dude that they describing, he's dead. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
He doesn't exist anymore. Um, the good thing about the other side of the fence, like my homeboys and all of that, right? Um, is that I always kept my boys in the loop, right? I didn't like bounce. So I do my homework and come back to the hood, right?
Right.
I do my homework. I'm at Antoinetta's. I'm
Yeah.
at all the hangout spots. You know what I mean? The only hard part about doing that was they like, hey, listen, you don't belong here anymore. You made it out. Why are you here? I'm like, because I ain't never want to get out. I wanted
Right.
to stop exposing myself to danger, but I ain't never want to leave. You know what I mean? Me and my sister were talking the other day. You know, she owns DM Williams Funeral Home. And we were just kicking it about our neighborhoods, right? We both, left the city for whatever reasons. And she was like, I hate it out here. I was like, I hate it out here too. I would much rather move back on Ravenwood with that nice, friendly neighborhood, right? Hanging with all the people that look like us. This stuff is horrible. Sorry, right? Um, so we have that in common. You know, my sister did well for herself as well. And we were just talking about like how we really don't like it, right? But I always stay connected to the hood. The only thing about it is once I started to do certain things, it was almost like, nah, you can't be here. You know, you made it out. We got to make sure you stay out.
Mhm.
Nah, Jay-Z says something profound. You don't got to change the hood. You don't got to change. You don't got to leave the hood physically, but you got to leave the hood mentally.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we get more people just to be able to stay and do the work, things will change. I love talking to you, right? I love the
Mhm.
fact that you got this. That's why I reached out to you. I said so much has happened since the last time we talked. What was that? 3 years ago? Probably longer.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Listen, time has flown, but
it
yeah,
has.
absolutely.
So that's the thing. I never detached myself because I love where I come from. I
Hmm.
love all the dudes that I grew up with. Right? They have been more loyal, more cool, more supportive than anything, right? And
Hmm.
so, in a sophisticated society, whoever's listening, whoever's watching, if you Google sophisticated society and what they call our society, we have all the traits of what they call a sophisticated society: the trust, the respect, the hard work, right? We clapped when each other won. I'm gonna change the topic a little bit, and we're gonna get a little bit grungy, right? We were always supportive of each other. When somebody went from an 8 ball to a quarter, from a quarter to an ounce, like by the time someone hit the brick, man, we clapping like, yo, my man, yo, that's what's up. You know what I mean? We were so happy and so proud. Yo, look at him with the whip. It wasn't jealousy or hate, man. Maybe I just got lucky and I was with a real good crew, but we
Yeah.
clapped when our friends won. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Is there different teams out there? Yeah, it comes with the territory, but
Right.
their inner circle, we clapped when each other won. So that love and respect and loyalty and code, it always stuck with me. Right. So yeah, that's it, man. I get more flack on this side of the fence. And so when I say this side of the fence, you have one way of living and then you have another way of living, right?
Mhm.
So this side of the fence, going from senior vice president, chief operating officer, um, now I sit on the board of the Urban League Economic Development. I'm the chair of that board. I'm the vice chair of the Greater Rochester Quality Control Board. And so we work on there is quality, making sure that businesses can make their businesses run well, whether it's using Six Sigma, whether it's using project management or other tools, right? So I sit on that board. It's different. I would much rather you become successful, right? Share your podcast. I would much rather all the homeboys that I did with finally figure it out, and now we all hanging together, man. I want to be like LeBron and his whole little crew, Jay-Z and Tata and all of them. You know what I mean?
Facts.
That's my dream. Don't nobody get rich to be alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or be around a bunch of new people that you have to build all kind of new memories with. Man, you meeting somebody in your 40s. And I'm like, I don't know this kid since I was, you know what I mean? And
that's a fact. That's a fact.
So
what would you say? What would you try to frame this question the right way? So you mentioned the duality, kind of the duality of your life.
Mm-hmm.
The person you once were versus the person you are.
Right.
I'm quite sure when you were the person that you once were, you had a certain perception of those who had lived their lives on the other side, or maybe got out before you, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe you saw them in a certain light or a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, do you feel like your perception of that changed now that you are in that number? Like,
nope,
now
I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. I'm gonna keep it 100. Being on this side is everything that I thought it was, because I've always been a reader, you know.
Yeah.
So my grades was where they needed to be, except for my freshman year at Wilson. After that, I got myself together, right? But I always kept my grades where they needed to be at. I always kept my head on straight, even doing what I was doing, right? Even the success I had in the streets. But by the time I got on this side of the fence, it's like, this is exactly what I thought it was. And I was hoping that it wasn't. I was in a meeting one time, and all black people, right? One white person, but she was just a facilitator. And whenever the conversation got serious, all of a sudden, this is the tone. Yeah, and so I think what we need to do is, I'm like, why y'all talking like that? Right? Do you just think that when you start to become successful, you have to sound white to be successful?
Right.
Y'all are black in your own way, and there's only us in here, right? And I said it, right? I get invited to a lot of rooms, a lot. I know a lot. I have a lot of talent. I bring a lot of skill sets with me. So I keep getting invited into rooms that I wish I didn't get invited to. Mm-hmm. So on this particular day, I said it out loud, because I always say it out loud. All of a sudden, they started using their regular urban vernacular, right? They started using the regular language that we would normally use if we was just kicking it. Same work got done, but we stayed true to ourselves. I'm like, I'm not about to sit here and all of a sudden the conversation got serious and we using all these big words. Do I understand what you're saying? Yeah, but why? I mean, even the tone, like, yeah, like suppose I'm all of a sudden someone else jump on this call, right? And I'm like, yeah, so Mike, what happened was, the pedagogy of how we approach such and such and yada, 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 yada. All of a sudden, my whole thing just changed, right? You know me. I know you.
Right.
And we can get the same message across using our regular common communication styles.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right? And those are the things I really can't stand, right? And I seen it firsthand. I don't mean to sound bitter or anything like that, right? There's a lot of good work that's happening. There's a lot of people doing some really good work. But if we're going to advance the way that we need to advance, we need to accept our culture and don't sway from it. When we begin to do economic development and we begin to want to design our communities, we should design them with us in mind. we design ourselves out of the equation. So often I'm in these rooms, I'm like, why would you put that there? That's awful white of you, right? That's not something we want, right? Maybe your funder wants it and you don't want to lose that funding stream, but you got different ways you can get to that bread. Right. Again, not to sound bitter, I just think that there's so much talent and we have the economic means to do it. They keep saying we don't have the economic means to do it. Black people are now $1 trillion buying power. So you used the word juxtapose earlier, right? I want to be like, why you use that word, right? Duality. I heard you. Don't think I am. I'm like, here we go, right? So if you juxtapose the two, right?
Right.
And it's like, okay, we have our communities. You have people that can do this work.
Yeah.
However, we're designing ourselves out of the equation, right? We're not keeping our culture in it. We're not doing urban renewal and urban planning based on what it is that we need in the way that we live our lives. They be proposing some stuff in these meetings. I'm like, don't nobody want that. The person that gave you this money might want that, and that's in your GDA. The GDA is your grant, your general operating guidelines of when you get a grant, right? So it's called the GDA, and they give you all the rules of what you can and cannot do. And sometimes they give you those things and they kill the project. They absolutely kill the project. So I'm like, don't accept the GDA. Get it from somebody. Get a different grant from somebody else. Or better yet, why don't we tap into our $1 trillion? And that has also been done, right? You got neighborhoods in Chicago. When I rode my bike across the country, you have these pockets. And it's more than I thought. Like, so I went to the hood, and then I also tried to find the areas where mainly Black people live at, right? And I found a spot in every city that had the rich Black people and the poor Black people, but mainly Black neighborhoods.
Right.
So we can do it. People just have to stand on business.
Facts.
So, so I gotta change my tone because I know sometimes in these conversations I'll go back and watch the podcast and I just sound bitter, but I'm not bitter at all. I'm so happy and excited because I've seen what we are capable of. I've seen what we can do. I've lived through what we can do. Just growing up in the hood, being so agile and the ability to make things happen. I've been in boardrooms where the company is doing so bad financially that they're looking for welfare, right? They call it stipends, or they call it, government subsidies. It's welfare, right? Where companies are living paycheck to paycheck, but yet you getting mad at one of your employees that's living paycheck to paycheck. I'm looking at your financials. I know that you're one bad decision away from closing a company that employs 400 people, right? And you're coming to the company I used to work for to get some money, right? So you can make sure that your job stays open. And so on the application, what they put on that application is job retention, right? We need this money so that we can make sure that we retain the jobs that are here so that we don't have to close or we don't have to downsize. We need to protect the people, right? Oh, so you want some welfare. That's what you want. You made some bad decisions and you need a bailout. And so you putting it under guise using different terminology of why you need it. You know what I mean? So I've just seen so much over the last 6 years. It's crazy, bro.
Wow. Listen, man, you saying a mouthful. I mean, it's such a again, a duality, and I definitely can attest to that with you. Like it's such a duality because you're trying to be impactful while still trying to keep your personal and cultural integrity.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And society will tell you that that's not possible. You either are one or the other.
Right.
And it's just it's a challenge every day. Like I I thank God for my mom's, because my mom, before she passed, when I was growing up, she had a diverse friend group. You know what I'm saying? Necessarily we weren't just necessarily hanging out with black people, but Hispanics, Caucasian, different things. So I saw a lot of stuff. I watched a lot of TV,
Yeah.
which they say the kids, we're not supposed to do. But I'll tell you, a lot of the things that I know, and a lot of the things that I'm able to articulate is because I watched. You know what I'm saying? Certain
Yeah.
shows that I watched, certain things that I was, that I did. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like you said, you know, I know where my roots are, and I
Mm-hmm.
know, where I come from, and things that, I've been able to navigate and all that, growing up to the point where I am now. So it's such a challenge even now, at
Mm.
this age, um, to feel like you're effective,
Right.
but still and not feel so much like what people might call a sellout, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
well, I guess they call it survivor's remorse. You know what I mean? You're at a certain point in your life, and and the people that you came with are not there. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Either they're, either they're locked up for one reason or another, or they just fell off or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's such a challenge, especially, I would imagine, especially being in the position that you are, because you're in a corporate setting and you are kind of the bridge between whether certain entities have access to other entities. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
um I guess I'm kind of rambling, but I kind of see, I kind of see what you're saying, and I never really kind of looked at it
Right.
like what you're saying. But I mean, it has to be, a great challenge, because I feel like it's a challenge for me as well, and
Yeah.
I'm not doing what you're doing. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be impactful with this podcast and other things that I'm doing, but I'm not doing what you're doing, and it's a
Right.
challenge for me. So just to be in the spot that you're in right now has to be, you know, amazingly challenging. Um, yeah,
It's I don't even want to use the word challenging, right? And the reason why I don't want to necessarily use that word is because I believe that um the genesis of the problem is that people paint that story or that image that it must be difficult to work in this space. But I'm going to say it again, we've navigated this space our entire lives, and the ingenuity and the agility and the resourcefulness of the people that we've grown up around. We've been taught that the same skill set used in the hood is less than the same skill set used in corporate America, right? So I know I'm in the minority, because sometimes when I have this conversation, people have been so used to hearing the other side of it, that it takes a while for it to resonate and be like, wait a minute. Like, nah, it's not really that difficult. We just have to stand true to who we are, right? I didn't graduate college and stop going to, I'm just gonna say Antoinetta's. That's the bar that keeps going to my mind right now. Right? I didn't stop going to Antoinetta's, right?
yeah,
I didn't stop going to Temple or any of those other bars that was open. So many bars, open to close. I didn't stop going to those places. People, I'm still outside.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I may not be outside as much because I have to work, and I am a submissive husband, right? And I don't mind using that word, right? Sometimes when the men use the word submissive, they looking at it in a form of less masculine. Nah, I still punch you in your face. I still do everything I need to do, right? But if I want my relationship to work, that means I need to be the man that my wife needs me to be. I need to be
Right.
that husband. You know what I mean? I need to be a father to my children. So if I want them to uh, do certain things, then I need to live it, right? Because children do what they see,
Facts.
not what you say.
Right.
So I think if more of us just really hunker down and stay true to who we are, what we believe, and how we do it, then we'll change the needle. You can never get ahead trying to get even,
Right.
right? And so too often we use this word equality and we want this and we want that. I don't need your approval, right? I've never need white people's approval. I've never needed it, right? Because where I come from, they was the customer. You know what I mean? The main
Mm.
customer. And so
Mm.
I don't have the same mindset as some people, right? The hardest thing I had was I had bad habits because money was coming so fast, right? You
Right.
spend it fast and this and that. So habits had to change, but the mindset should never change. You know what I mean? So again, that's why I write the books that I write. That's why we started a whole publishing company, wgwpublishing.com. We give voice to people that want to share this type of narrative that are successful, right? But haven't lost themselves. You know what I mean? So wgwpublishing.com, you can go on there, you'll see the type of books that we publish, who we help write books, right? So definitely check that out and definitely check out the list of books that are on there. Um, we have some superintendents on there. We have some elected politicians on there. I have several books on there. My homeboy Terrell Brady, he wrote several books. Like, he went to jail, came home. He wrote a book called Prisoner No More. Um, just really helpful information on those. He also has a kids series, teaching social skills and other things that children should know. So my whole life, my North Star, and for those that are watching that don't know what the North Star, that's project management for saying that's the main goal. My North Star in life, and I'm never going to give up on it, is to bring forth the greatness in everyone that I grew up with and everyone I grew around. I am amazed at how we lived and how we survived, right? By the time I got to college and you start, reconciling the differences between what they consider the have and have nots, I realized that we were very rich in relationships, right? We had access to a lot of money. It's just how we got after it, right? We may not have gotten after the bread the way that we should have, but the resourcefulness of the people in the hood, man, I'm blown away. I think it's more complex, more sophisticated than any business that I've had to coach, any business I've been a part of. Um, Especially as COO, you have to work with all the operations of a business, from the accounting to to the janitors. Everything has to work operationally. And
Mm-hmm.
so even when you're working with these multi-million-dollar companies, they don't seem as complex as it is navigating the hood,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And we don't give ourselves enough credit. When you have to make ends meet all the time, when you always have to make a critical decision, there's a skill set there, right? When two bills are due, you figure out, okay, you have to prioritize which bill to pay. Now you have to say, okay, how am I going to close this gap? I'm working full time, but it ain't working out for me. I'm gonna have to sell some dinners on the weekend.
Right.
Right now, you're just talking about brand extensions. You're looking at other skills that you have, and you're monetizing it. Same thing that companies do, right? They're like, okay, well, we're in this field now. We're growing. How are we going to scale? If we're going to scale, then that means we need to bring in this skill set. We need to bring in more people. That means we have to tap a different network. If you got a full-time job doing this podcast, right? Hypothetically speaking, and the podcast ain't making enough money, the first thing that you're going to do is look inside yourself and say, okay, what other skill set do I have?
Right.
And then when you look at that skill set, you have to say, okay, what does the customer base look like and where are they? The same people that you are calling to get on your podcast or the same people that you're trying to get to watch your podcast ain't gonna be the same people that you want to flip sneakers to.
Right.
Right. And when you really begin to put pen to paper, we are a resilient people. And I admire my people in the hood way more than I have admiration for a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. You just can't move like us. They
Right.
not like us. That's a beautiful song.
Right.
Right. And so I see it. And because now I can conceptualize it in a much different way and begin to look at those skill sets and give it the value that it really has. I already love the hood. Now I love the hood even more.
That's a fact. That's a
So,
fact.
and I love my people. I like, man, listen, I scroll on here and see people doing different things, man, opening up small businesses. I'm like, yo, this is scalable. This is scalable. Um, I just love it. We are the most talented people on this planet, as far as I'm concerned. You
That's a
know what I
fact.
mean? You've known me from wilding out, fighting all the time, hustling. You know what I mean? I've never been to jail, never been to prison, right? I don't. I think that the best hustlers don't go there. Just my opinion. You know?
Ah,
I'm more of the
yeah.
lucky. I'm more of the Meyer Lansky mindset. You know what I mean? I want
If
to know the
you
person that didn't never go. Right?
yeah, if you listen to I heard I think Mano said today, he said you're not a gangster unless you've been to jail one time. You're not considered an OG if you ain't been to jail one time.
Man,
But whatever, man.
crap,
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
You're a genius if you avoided if you have managed to avoid it, right?
Yeah.
And you still got the respect in the streets. Ain't nobody gonna play in your face. Ain't nobody gonna
Right.
do nothing to you. You know what I mean?
It's a
I'm still
fact.
gonna hold my own, whether I'm in here or out there. You know what I mean?
It's
Whether
a
I'm
fact.
in prison or out of prison, you still ain't gonna play with me,
That's a
right?
fact.
It's dangers everywhere, and if you
Yeah.
smart enough to avoid
Yeah.
that, you can outwit one time. You know what I mean? You ain't never your name ain't in no paperwork,
Yeah.
but you've done this long enough, and you've been able to avoid that because you can stay one step ahead. That's
Right.
ingenuity.
That's a
We don't
fact.
reward that, right? Just like you don't reward the young black man going to school getting all A's. Now you a nerd. I don't care.
Yeah.
Call me a nerd.
That's a fact.
But you're also gonna call me a college graduate.
Yeah, that's a
What you
fact.
won't call me is punched in the face because you never mind. You won't call me that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Let me
So
I got two more questions for you. Right.
mhm.
First question is at this point in your life, right? What would you say that you have found to be the most common misconception that people have about you?
That I have not changed. Right. The most common misconception is that I'm a hood. I'm always gonna be a hood. Right. I still have some mannerisms that even I try and shake them. Right.
Mhm.
I tried therapy. I tried all of that. I still have anger management issues. Right. Someone says something kind of foul to me, my heart starts to racing up. My fist clench. You know what I mean? It's a natural behavior from where I came from. So that's the one common misconception. That person that you knew, he doesn't exist anymore. Right. That's the most common misconception.
Okay. Well, this is my last official question for you. It's a question that I ask all my guests. I asked you this question the last time you were here.
Mm,
Let's see how consistent you are. But then again, we've evolved.
right.
So we're ever evolving. So we'll see. The question is this: what would have to happen in your life is if it hasn't happened already for you to consider your life a success? What does success look like for you specifically?
That's a loaded question, man. I'm gonna answer it this way. Success for me is I finally helped enough of my team where we all good, right? Where my money is making enough money where I can garden all day, every day, and spend time with
Okay.
my wife, my children, right? Where I'm free, um, free to do what I want to do. Stable. My great grandchildren are already all set. Got some trust set up, right? That's what success would look like for me on a micro level, right? Me and my friends, we all good, right? Um, and we can really enjoy what the grand architect has created on this earth. Earth is a beautiful place because I garden, because I love outside. I'm intrigued what happens in the soil. I'm intrigued by how stuff grows. I'm intrigued at the peacefulness of the ocean. I love walking through the woods. So for me to be a success would be able to really enjoy, I say the grand architect of the universe, right? Because everyone has a different religion and I respect
Yeah,
everyone's religion.
yeah,
But I'm gonna
yeah,
say enjoy what was created for us as humans to enjoy, which is the people that you love in the world that we live on, not live in, live
yeah.
on, right?
Right.
So that's basically it, man. I just want to spend all the time I can possibly with the people that I love the most.
That's a fact.
That's
Okay.
it.
Definitely can respect that. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, like maybe something that was said on the podcast tonight, resonated with somebody, and maybe they wanted you to expound on something, that you said, or maybe they want to have you come speak, or I don't know. Maybe they want to invest in something that you talked about or whatever. Maybe they want to
Mm.
know about some more about your books. How can they get in touch with you?
Shoot me an email, right? I usually respond. I try to respond to my emails within, 24 hours. twilliams112@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook. I have two pages, Tracy L. Williams, author. And then just Tracy L. Williams, my personal page. So you can send me a message, shoot me an email. Um, you can send me a message on wgwpublishing.com. We have an email there, but GoDaddy be messing up sometimes, so I don't always get all those emails. So just use
Yeah,
my Gmail, and I will respond within 24 hours.
that's what's up.
So,
Well, Trace, I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface, but I want to be respectful of your time. Um, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing those nuggets, man. Definitely, this is an open invitation. You already know.
right.
Anytime you want to come back, we could do a part two of this. Um, it's open. Just let me know, and we will make it happen. Um, I appreciate you, and I want you. You don't, but I want to let you know that what you're doing is even more impactful than even you think it is,
Thank
than
you
you
for that.
realize. You know what I mean? Because what happens is we don't have enough examples. We are rather, let me say, we don't have enough exposed examples.
Mhm.
If we're lucky enough to be in certain circles, we may be able to see certain people doing certain things. But overall, there are not enough publicly celebrated examples of an alternative lifestyle.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be how it's been.
Right.
It doesn't have. You don't have to do certain things or be certain things in order to be successful. And you are definitely an example. You are somebody that somebody can point to and say, but Tracy did it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He's able to do this. He's able to do that. He's able to navigate and accomplish this. And so just to be able to be an example and come from where we come from at the same time
Right.
is an amazing, is an amazing gift. And so, just don't take that for granted, man, because there are people looking at you even when you don't you don't notice that they're looking.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. And you as well, man. I watch your podcast when they come up. You know what I mean? You still here, still rocking out after all these years. I love the fact
Yeah,
that we from the same place and we still out here trying to make things happen in
yeah.
the way that we see the best way to do it, right? So I definitely appreciate you. And I'm definitely gonna come back on. Hopefully next time we do it right, we'll get together, the cameras will be set up, and we'll be
Yes,
doing it
sir.
like drink champs. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Doing it in
Yes,
person,
sir.
having a good time. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Well, again, man, I appreciate you, man, and I wish you much blessings or much luck or much favor or much success on everything that you got going, and even the things that you haven't thought of, man. I wish you much success in that even as well.
Same to you, brother.
All right, man. You take care and you have an amazing weekend, and we definitely gonna chop it up later.
Absolutely. Later.
All right, you guys, another amazing interview with another amazing guest. Shout out to Tracy, man. If please check out the websites that he was talking about. Check out his movement. He's really doing a lot of positive things for his community, for his family, um, and that's what we need. That's what we all need. Um, as I always tell you guys, I don't know why I'm so tongue tied today for some reason. As I tell you guys every time before I sign off, if there's something that you feel like you've been given, a vision, a dream, something that you feel like you feel like you can touch it, it's right there. This is your time to step out on it, man. Step out on faith, man, because where there is vision, God provides provision. If it's a book, if it's a job, if it's a degree, if it's a song, if it's an essay, whatever. Um, this is the time to do it because we need it. There's a remnant of people who are designated to receive only what you have to offer. So, with that being said, it becomes way more important way more important than just doing a thing. It is it is highly important that you step out on faith and do what you've been called to do. So with that being said, man, again, I implore you, step out, do what you gotta do, be who you're gonna be. We need it, we gotta have it, and it's gonna push us all forward. So with that being said, man, y'all have a good night, man, and I'll see y'all next time. Y'all take it easy.